So where should I start? Okay, so I'm going to rewind maybe like a minute before that, and then we can all just feel good about ourselves starting a little bit sooner. So where was I? So I believe I was talking about the flag of Nepal. So I love how there are 196 different countries with 196 different national anthems and 196 different flags. I love how, like I told you before, I love how the flag of Nepal is the only flag in the world that has that does not have a rectangular shape, right? Has kind of two cut out little triangles right there. And I love how before the fall of Gaddafi, Libya had a flag that was completely green. I love how we're going to switch, ready? I love how the national anthem of which country? Montenegro. Montenegro has a national anthem that sounds like it's from a Hollywood horror movie. If anyone knows anyone from Montenegro, tell them that they have a national anthem that sounds like a Hollywood horror movie, which I think is really cool. I love the idea of, we can switch back. I love the idea of sister cities, right? The idea that countries have cities that are sister cities. There's a common bond between cities internationally, even though the residents of every different city has never even met each other. Like, how awesome is that, right? I love languages that I don't understand. And I love trying to understand languages I don't understand, even if what I'm trying to say is completely ridiculous. Now, in English, obviously, this is I want to make love to a clown, right? That is something that's completely normal to say in America, right? Well, in Italy, they say, voglio fare l'amore a un pagliaccio. In Mexico, yo quiero hacer el amor a un payaso. In French, je veux faire l'amour avec un clown, right? In Czech Republic, si se malivat se klonem. In Georgian, minda vijimal klontan. In Hindi, muchko jokar kopiat karnae. In Mandarin Chinese, wo xiang ai ge xiao chou. In Russian, ya chuzan yatio lubovyu sklonem. And of course, in Turkish, ibir pagliaccio ile sevmishek istiyorum, right? That's pretty great. Right. So you know what I love? So make sure you're still there with me. I love how languages are songs to be sung by people in different countries to communicate. I really love that. I think that's great. And to talk about the people for a second, I love how curious and accepting people are when I leave my country. I love how there was always wondering why I'm there and what I'm doing, and I appreciate that. And I love never, ever having to say that I am Canadian, right? A lot of Americans need to do that. I love living in Italy during college, and I love living in Little Italy in New York City. That's where I live right now. And I can't live anywhere else on the planet because I simply walk too fast, right? And I love living on the 4th story of my building. Get ready to switch. The 4th story on my building and lowering my key down from a fishing pole. Yeah, that's how I get my key around. And I love the fact that that key is inside a hat from the double landlocked country of Uzbekistan, right? And there's only one thing more I love than drinking scotch, is drinking scotch from a decanter that's shaped like a world globe. So I kind of love geography, right? But the question is, well, first of all, before I get into the question, there's one major question at task. But first I wanted to introduce myself. After that 10-minute introduction on geography, this is the point where I say, my name is Joe. So my name is Joe, and I'm delighted to be here with you, right? So thank you very much for having me. I am so honored to be in the presence of such amazing speakers, just to be here and share a stage with all of you, and to be in front of every single person in this auditorium means the world to me. But I wanted to spend my time on stage talking about my experiences with geography, my travels, and the stories that I create to reflect upon my journeys, all right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it back to education because obviously that's important. and then connect it to technology, because I think that's also important to integrate those two. But first, let's get back to that question that I originally asked. The question being, where did my love for geography come from? Had to come from somewhere. Everything comes from somewhere, right? So to do that, switch, we're going to teleport, right? Teleport back to 1991 on Christmas Day. All right, we're going to switch back to here. So that was me at the age of 8 opening up a gift for Christmas. That gift was a game called Passport. Passport is really simple. You have this plastic thing that talks to you, and it gives you questions about geography. And your job is to answer these questions about geography correctly so you can get stamps in your passport. The ultimate seal of approval, right? Getting stamps in your fake passport on this really fun board game. Now, this game represents the first time I ever left the country, right? From the safety of my own home, I could travel the planet, travel all the different continents and all the different countries, and explore the world. Because as an American, it's difficult to leave where we are, right? Think about that. We can go to Canada, we can go to Mexico, some of us might be able to go to South America. But it's difficult to go anywhere really interesting, Istanbul, Turkey, because of 3 reasons. 1, the Atlantic Ocean. 2, the Pacific Ocean. And 3, the cost of flying over the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. It's really difficult. You guys don't have to worry about that. But what's really interesting about this game is that it unlocked a world to me. Right? There was a fascination there. And I argue that the fascination for anything that we enjoy in life is somewhat unlocked in the classroom through education. And I feel that there are 2 parts to education. 1, learning, just simple learning, right? Because for a geography lover like myself, what do you learn about in geography? You learn about 7 continents, 5 oceans, right? You learn that Russia is the biggest country on the planet. You learn that Vatican City is the smallest. And you also learn really cool, quirky stuff, like the fact that the world is 25 miles longer this way than it is this way. Did you guys know that? Planet Earth is called an oblate spheroid. I love that. It's pretty awesome. But the second part of education is immersion. And immersion happens where instead of you just learning that Russia is the biggest country on the planet, it's you going to Russia. And it's you being inside of what you're learning about. And every subject has that. Every subject has a learning and immersion, right? Now for geography, immersion happens, like I said, when you travel, when you go to places. It's one thing to learn Spanish, but when you go to a Spanish-speaking country, you are immersed in that environment, and the education is much more of a different, richer experience. Because travel, in my opinion, has 2 main elements that are important. 1 is that it makes your world bigger, right? And 2, as a result, it makes your outlook on everything so much more humble. Now, I wanted to take that word humble and teleport you because, like I said, maps teleport. It's going to be a theme of this talk. I want to teleport you to a man named Hubble. Does anyone know that name Hubble? Does that sound familiar? Yeah, absolutely. You're like, of course. Yes, absolutely. So this is Edwin Hubble. Edwin Hubble is who Americans are very proud of. He's a famous, very famous American astronomer. And 80 years ago, back in 1922, he had one of the biggest telescopes on the planet, right? It was huge. And he would take that telescope and he would aim it up at the sky, the heavens, and he would see for what thousands of years people would stare at, the heavens, stars. But his story was a little bit different because his telescope was so powerful that he would notice little clouds in the sky. And for what thousands of years people thought were just clouds, he found out they were something completely different. They were whole galaxies outside of everything that we knew. So imagine that. You look at the stars in the sky, all those stars you see are stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy. But he was seeing something completely different. He was seeing billions of galaxies outside of our own galaxy, right? That is crazy. that stirred an intellectual revolution on the planet because people were forced to see the universe as something much bigger. And yes, indeed, that made everyone's outlook on life a lot more humble. And I feel all of us, every single person in these seats, there are Hubble moments, Hubble experiences in every single one of our lives that force us to see something bigger, and it makes our outlook much more humble. And in geography, my Hubble experience, get ready to switch, my Hubble experience was in the middle of the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. I love that sound, by the way. It's such a sexy sound. All right, so my Hubble experience, once again, was in the middle of the Gobi Desert of Mongolia. All right, so that file's a little bit busted. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the video off of here, and then hopefully we can capture it. Sound good? Yeah. All right, great. So sorry to put you through all this. I have no idea. Okay. Okay. My Hubble experience happened there, in the middle of the Mongolian desert. Now, what was I doing at that time? I was partaking in something called, can everyone see? Something called the Mongol Rally, right? And the Mongol Rally is very simple thing. You go to London, England, where some of our guests are from. You get a car, you do whatever it takes to get a car. The car cannot have an engine bigger than 1.2 liter engine, 1.2 liters. That's a really small car. The car has to be at least 10 years old. You have to raise money for charity. You have to do whatever it takes to try to get to the country of Mongolia, 16,000 kilometers away, right? It's crazy. Now, when I first found out about this, my mind was blown because here I am loving geography and realizing that this is a point of time in my life where I could force myself to imagine being there on a trip of a lifetime. So what I did was I basically realized that things didn't kick in about this trip. Things didn't really happen until, well, first of all, this is the car that actually, no. This is the map that it takes to get from England to Mongolia, right? England all the way to Mongolia, that far away. See? Now, for me, for a map lover like me, this was a dream come true, right? Because I can force myself to imagine how to get there. So, there's a couple of routes you can take. One, you can take the northern route. You can go through Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and go all the way through Russia. Two, you can take the central route by going all the way through Ukraine. You can take the southern route, which goes all the way through Istanbul, Turkey, and that's the route that I took, because I love the city so much. And things didn't kick in until I bought my car, right? That is the tiny, tiny car that we have, and it's painted like a Rubik's Cube, right? I love Rubik's Cubes. So here I am with my car. Here I am with all my visas that I purchased to go from England to Mongolia. And then there I am in the middle of the summer of 2009 at the starting line with 400 other cars ready to go, right? 400 other cars wondering what was going to happen on their 16,000 kilometer trek to Mongolia. All of us not knowing what was going to happen. So we started from England and we went all the way through Europe. And we went to the Czech Republic, where the organizing committee for this rally ended up taking a giant castle and throwing a party in it. It was crazy. Imagine every room in a castle with the DJs in it playing music. It was madness. And after this, I saw myself on the road, going through the Balkans, right? You know how to get, obviously we know how to get from Czech Republic to Istanbul. You all don't have to be geography lovers to know how to get there, through Slovakia, through Hungary, down through Serbia, Bulgaria, and finally we make it here. And in driving through Turkey, the characteristic that I'll never forget about Turkey is that every single person insists that you drink tea. That's how I remember Turkey. Driving through the countryside and mountains and a lot of desert plains, is you see everyone going, hey, hey, chai, chai, hey, chai. And you have to dutifully go inside their residence and drink tea with them. After about 87 drinks with 87 different people, you have a different perspective about Turkey, that they're very friendly people. But then you cross the border and you go to the country of Georgia, right? Now, my really good friend is from Georgia, and I got to see him, and this is him actually testing out my car, and that's something I wanted to show you really quickly. This is him. George from Georgia testing out my car. Good job, George. Great job. That's enough. No more. Stop. Just stop, please. George is actually in the audience. Say hi to him later. Came all the way. So, oh, that's actually really nice, I think. Can we just test if that works? Yeah, that's better, huh? Yeah, we can turn off all. Yeah, that's great. All right. So, where are we in the story, right? We're halfway to Mongolia right now. The suspense is overwhelming for you all, right? So, after Georgia, where do you go? Well, there's only one place you can go from Georgia on the trip that I took. And that is the country of Azerbaijan. Now, before you get to Azerbaijan, there's one road that goes all the way through, right? And at the border of Georgia and Azerbaijan, one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life was one sign in the country of Georgia before you get to Azerbaijan. And that sign said nothing more than 2 words, right? Good luck. I have no idea why that's there, but it says good luck. That's really funny. Azerbaijan for me was characterized by the word patience, right? Because when you get to Baku, the capital, you have to wait for a boat to take you to the country of Kazakhstan. And there's only one boat that traverses that Caspian Sea. And when you arrive, just moments after that boat leaves, you need to wait 8 days for it to come back. And there's only one place to wait, a parking lot. So needless to say, I was a little bit bored. And that's me with a Batman mask playing the harmonica, because that's what you do when you're bored on the Mongol Rally. But when the boat arrives, you feel elation, and you cross the Caspian Sea, and you go to Kazakhstan. And then you drive through Kazakhstan, and you go to Russia, and you drive through Russia, and you finally get to Mongolia, right? Now, when you are in Mongolia, you are greeted by hospitality. People in yurts, in gers that invite you. Instead of them going, hey, hey, chai, chai, they're just saying, come here. And you go inside of their yurts and their gers, and you have meals with them, right? And then in Mongolia, you are greeted by people who insist that you carry their birds, which is kind of weird. But then you're also met with beautiful sunsets. You're met with camels that refuse to get out of the way. And you're also met sometimes with a broken down car, right? Just 300 kilometers away from the capital, your car breaks down. What do? Right? You're in the middle of nowhere. Well, obviously, when you break down, you find a van carrying 20 people, and you take the one piece of rope you have and ask them if they can pull you for the rest of the way. So that is me getting pulled by a van to 300 kilometers to the capital. And when you are at the finish line in Ulaanbaatar, you look at your car, you look at everything, every piece of that car, and you say to yourself, that was an incredible journey. That was an amazing journey. This car was my home, and for 40 days took me where I needed to go. And that was my experience with the Mongol Rally. That was my story that I tell people from my eyes. But there's one other thing I wanted to show you, and that is an experiment that happened completely unintentionally. Before I went on this trip, I knew I wanted to do something. I had a project that I wanted to try. And that project was something that involved video, because I create video. And the video project I had was an idea. And the idea was, what if I got 40 people in the country of Kazakhstan during my time driving through to sing one one line from a famous song. And every person singing one line from a song, I can put it together in one experience where everyone is singing the same song. And that one song, I wanted to be culturally relevant, that people would know it, and I also wanted that song to have a purpose and meaning, meaningful lyrics. And that song, of course, was Changes by Tupac Shakur. I don't know if you guys like Tupac Shakur in Turkey. But that was the experiment that I set out to create, and this is the result of the project. I don't know if it's going to be able to, I hope it's going to be able to show. Should I get a little closer? All right, let's just try it.
Come on. I see no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself, is life worth living? Shut up, stop. I'm trying to drink more. Even good? I'm fine. Time is good.
So, welcome to University.
Oh, check aquela nega.
He's a hero.
Sell a crack to the kids. Who the hell cares?
Oh, last time to know.
I'm the wolf. First, shut the door. Let him deal the brother.
Give him guns.
Step back. Watch him kill each other. It's time to fight, man.
That's what Huey said.
So then shut in the door.
Now Huey is dead.
You got it. Up with it. That is you, man. We made a cake today.
But you made it in a sleazy way.
So the crack to the kid. I gotta get paid. That's the way it is.
Is that just the way it is? Things will never be the same.
That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah. Is that just the way it is? Things will never be the same.
That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah.
America!
I learned that people in the country of Kazakhstan are generous, they're kind, they're welcoming, accepting, and they have amazing voices. This project is funny because I thought it was going to start out as something really silly. I didn't realize what was going to happen when I finished this video. Because although every single person you saw in this video was on camera for only 3 or 4 seconds, they each represent a story that I can tell you, and it's all being sung by them. You know the word outsource. I outsourced my storytelling through the eyes of the people that I met along my trip, right? For example, this man right here. Can you see? Need to get closer? This man right here. He was only on camera for 3 or 4 seconds. But if I were to tell you that this man represents a story, right, I can do that. Because there was a time when one of our cars was broken down, and we had nowhere to go. And this man pulled over on the side of the road and wanted to figure out how we can get our car on the back of his truck. Because he had a truck, we might as well try. And the way that he came up, the idea he came up with was brilliant. What if you put the truck on the side of the road and roll our car on the side of the road onto the back of the truck, right? Now, we didn't end up doing it because the 2 wood planks would have snapped in half if we ever tried. But the fact that he spent 5 hours with us shows more than anyone can ever describe about someone. And this man right here, only on camera for 4 or 5 seconds. But this truck, this lorry that he was driving, he pulled over and he made us drive it. He said, get in here. He didn't say that. He said it in Kazakh. But he basically said, come on in and drive this. And here I am driving a giant truck not knowing how, right? And then this man over here, with a pink pillow around his neck, we came to a river, and we didn't know how to cross it. And he showed us the most shallow part of that river to cross, and without him, we would have never been able to get to where we needed to go without his help. And as a reward, we gave him a few dollars and a pink pillow that we had in the car. It's a ridiculous photo, I know. But so what's incredible about this is that I could have written just a blog. I could have written emails. I could have just taken photos. But by putting people that I met in my story, they basically not only have tons of stories I can tell you by showing them, but they also represent so much about the country of Kazakhstan, right? All these people who don't know each other in one video together is an emotional experience, I feel. And in a world where everyone thinks that Kazakhstan represents this guy, I like to think the video I created played a small part in changing a perception. The power of the story could possibly do that. After the trip, I went back to America. And I planned another trip about 6 months later. I wanted to go to Japan. I've never been there before, and I wanted to go. And my friend, who works at a record label, music industry, he said, Joe, I hear you are going to Japan, and I saw Tupac in Kazakhstan. Do you think you can go to Japan and do that for one of our bands? And I said, let's give this a shot. So what band was it? It was the band Weezer, right? And the song was, I Can't Stop Partying. And here I am in the middle of Japan doing the same type of thing. Same type of thing I learned with all those folks in Kazakhstan, getting people in Japan to do the same thing.
I can't stop partying. I can't stop partying.
I gotta have patrol.
I gotta have the weed. I gotta have a laugh. A pretty good and weed.
I can't stop.
I can't stop partying. I gotta have the curve.
I gotta have the judge.
And if you was me, honey, you would do it too.
Now, after that video, that was only just a quick segment, but after that video was uploaded, it was the same type of, it was like a deja vu for me. It was incredible. And what I wanted to do now was I wanted to just take a moment to transition from the stories I've created on those 2 trips to how I share these stories, because a story has 2 parts to it. 1 is the creation of it, and 2 is the sharing of it. And the way that I share these videos is very simple. You film it, you edit it, you upload it to YouTube, and then you share it with the world. The world we live in now is incredible because anyone can do that. Anyone, all of you can, everyone can. And I feel that after seeing the results of this, there were 800,000 people who saw Tupac in Kazakhstan, and many of them were people from Kazakhstan. Finding the video I uploaded in America and making comments about it and sharing it with their friends, that speaks to the power of the internet, doesn't it? Right? That's very obvious. Because the power of the internet allows all of us to do that, to completely do that. Because, like I said about maps, maps are teleportation devices that force us to imagine being someplace else. But the internet is also a teleportation device. But instead of it forcing us to imagine ourselves being someplace else, it is actually bringing us there. Because you can be in the middle of a protest in Cairo, fighting for liberty and fighting for freedom, and seconds later, by moving your mouse to the left, you find yourself clicking on an article that brings you in the middle of the halls of British Parliament, debating legislation that affects millions of lives. That's very powerful. It's very obvious. We all know how important the internet is. But inside the internet, I feel YouTube, everyone knows what YouTube is here, obviously. I feel YouTube is the single most important storytelling device ever created by mankind. Now that's my opinion. You might be saying, Joe, that's a really bold assertion. But I'm going to say, I believe in it strongly. Is it more powerful than the book? I think it's more powerful than the book, yeah. Is it more powerful than radio? Yes, I think it is. More powerful than traditional film and movies? Yeah, I think it is. Because YouTube allows everyone to create something and share it with the world. And that sharing creates dialogue, that sharing creates conversation, and that sharing creates inspiration, right? And if it's true that all of us here have our own story, the way that YouTube works is certainly proving it. Did you guys know that 60 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every single minute, right? That's 1 hour per second of video. Think of how many stories are inside of there. Think of all the immersion that is happening, right? And think about the implications that has on education. And for your children in the classroom, right? Now, all of you are teachers here. Raise your hand if you're a teacher. That's a lot of teachers. I heard a rumor that there was going to be a lot of teachers here. Thank you for the lights. Now, not all of you are geography teachers. That's totally fine. But I wanted to use the geography videos that I showed you and talking about geography to show you a couple of examples of something. YouTube is filled with such wonder and amazement for me as a geography lover that what I've noticed is that there are many other people creating geography videos just like myself. And if you look hard enough, you will find people passionate about things like geography in the same way that I am. You will notice that there is one person named Matt who travels the world, traveling the cities. What's it, Jen? Want to say it? Dancing Matt. He gets people to dance with him around the planet. And it's pretty powerful. I want to show you that. That's great. It's so cute. It's adorable. It's awesome. In YouTube videos, you will notice that there is a person that goes around the planet getting street musicians to sing one line from a song the same way I did with people in Kazakhstan, but they'll do it with actual musicians. And they'll do it to the song Stand By Me, the famous song Stand By Me. You'll notice that. You guys can dance if you want. No? Right? And this is so incredible because here I am looking at all these different geography creators and I'm realizing one thing. It snaps for me, right? I realize that all of these videos, all of these different videos being created, this music, all these geography videos, you know, we're living in a geography galaxy, right? Because there's this one place on YouTube where billions of people, just like billions of stars, are creating different stories about geography. And if you look to the right, you see the architecture galaxy, right? And you see the billions of people creating billions of stories in the architecture galaxy. And you see the science galaxy. And you see the billions of stories there. And you see the Turkish history galaxy, right? With billions of people, maybe including yourselves, that are creating Turkish history videos. And you realize that YouTube is nothing more than one giant universe of billions of galaxies, of billions of stars of stories just waiting to be discovered. Now, the thing that's really funny, the thing that's really interesting about the textbook is that every single one of us has been affected by the textbook here. All the teachers here, you use textbooks in class. But I feel a textbook isn't enough. I feel that video and YouTube and all these creations online are too powerful of a supplement to not be used with a textbook. Because we can teach physics through a textbook, but it's a whole new level of immersion when you're able to see people at the particle collider, right? Everyone know the Large Hadron Collider in Europe, right? When you get to see people inside of that, that facility singing about physics.
Comes mass particles created from the vacuum and then.
Oh, yeah.
LCBs is put an automatic spawn, else a collision
anthropology in a textbook. But it's a whole new level of immersion, finding a video that shows people from the country of Papua New Guinea, seeing people outside of their tribe for the very first time. And we can teach Mandarin Chinese in a textbook, but it's a whole new, what is it? Level of immersion, right? Seeing Peggy from China not only teach you vocabulary, but take you around that country, showing you what that vocabulary looks like in daily activity.
Hiking in Mandarin we say 践行, 践行. Hiking a mountain in Mandarin we say 爬山.
That's China. It's pretty pretty. Right? So, you might be saying, Joe, where are you going with all of this? Well, this is leading to one conclusion, one honest proposal I have for every single teacher in this room right now. If we are going to give our kids, or your kids I should say, homework, to send them home to solve math problems, and to solve science problems, and to solve English problems, now, granted, mostly English teachers here, but if we are going to dedicate that commitment to making sure kids get homework, I feel everyone in this room should have some homework also. I feel that all of you should watch 20 minutes of YouTube videos every single day. And you should take one video every day and have your children, have your kids watch that video. Before or after the class, one video a day will keep the badness away, right? Because by having these kids watch a video every day, there's a new level of engagement, right? But before I get into those reasons, and I'm almost finished, but before I get into those reasons, how do you do that when you're already busy? You guys are very busy. So how do you do that? How do you watch one video a day, play one video a day, and how do you spend 20 minutes looking for new videos? Well, I tell you, it's not that hard. Number one, make it a routine. Very simple. Every day you should treat watching YouTube the same way that you read a newspaper. Go to different blogs, read a newspaper, find interesting stuff, and make it a commitment. Number two, form a network. Every single person in this room should be sharing things with each other, sharing these stories. Because for one teacher that might find something that's related to English, another teacher might find in math, and then we can share those and we can create a network. And internationally, we can do the same thing. We can have an international network of YouTube watching teachers sharing the things that they like. And number three, be creative about how you show your videos in the classroom to your students, right? Use no boundaries. Figure out awesome ways to include videos in the classroom. For example, if you have anything that's related to the 50 states of America, I better make sure that you are showing a video like this to your students.
Show me where Michigan is. Yes, good girl. Smarty pants dance, smarty pants dance. All right, come here. Show me where Florida is. Florida. Good girl. Come here, come here, come here. Show me where Texas is. Good girl. Smarty pants dance. Come here, smarty pants. All right, let's do a hard one. Where's Massachusetts? Very good. Good girl. Smarty pants dance. Smarty pants dance. Your IQ is a smarty pants dance.
I love that video. So what are the reasons? And this is what I'm going to end on. What are the reasons why showing YouTube videos are important in the classroom? Well, number one, I feel very strongly it's an issue of engagement. It's engaging for students these days to watch video. Because a textbook is not compatible with the iPhones they have and the technology that they use constantly. So by having video as a platform that kids can relate to, they will pay attention more, and it is much more engaging. Number two, it forms discussion in very interesting ways. Because if you are able to make your kids laugh in the beginning of class with a video that teaches them about the 50 states in America and shows an adorable baby dancing, then they're going to be more likely to engage in discussion. Now that video, of course, is a baby, but all of the other videos I showed you is an amazing way to form conversation in the class and to get kids making their own stories, because that's the ultimate goal. And number three, cultural understanding. The more we can show people that do not look like your students, that do not speak like your students, that do not live within 500 miles of where your students live, the more we can ensure that students everywhere are having a very good cultural foundation with seeing how other societies live and other cultures interact with each other. But I know for certain that there is one reason that stays above all of the others for why you should play a video every single day for your students. Final reason is that YouTube videos are just plain fun. I believe fun leads to learning. I believe fun leads to immersion. And I believe fun leads to love. And you know what I love? What do you love? I love people finding out what they love. And I hope all of you do too. So thank you very much. That's my info. Çok teşekkür ederim. Çok teşekkür ederim.